Assalamu alaikum. In this video we are going to learn about the process of oogenesis, which is the maturation of the primordial germ cells or the oogonia into the mature oocyte. Or we can say that it is a sequence of events by which the oogonia or the primordial germ cells are transformed into the mature ovum. Actually, the process of oogenesis begins even before birth, so it is divided into the two major parts: the prenatal maturation of the oocytes and the postnatal maturation of oocytes. So, before birth, during the 5th week of intrauterine life, the primordial sex cells from the yolk sac migrate to reach the developing ovary, where they multiply by mitosis and forms numerous oogonia, where their number of chromosomes is 2n. Then by 3rd month of development, oogonia multiply by mitosis, increase in number and size, and differentiate into the primary oocyte. Each of these primary oocyte is surrounded by the connective tissue cells that consist of the flat layer of the flat epithelial cells called the follicular cells, and the primary oocyte along with this follicular cell is called the primordial follicle. Now this primary oocyte has stopped mitosis and has primary follicle is now ready to enter into the meiosis and is arrested into the prophase of the meiosis 1. During next few months, oogonia increased rapidly in number, and at 5th month of prenatal development, total number of oogonia is 7 million in the ovary. By 7th month, majority of the oogonia have degenerated except few near the surface. At birth, there are no oogonia because all of the oogonia have been transformed into the primary oocyte, and no primary oocyte form after the birth, in contrast to the continuous production of primary spermatocytes. Then all the oocytes have been arrested into the diplotin phase of the prophase 1, which is the resting phase, and they have been arrested in this phase. And the number of the primary oocyte at birth is about 6 to 8 million. Then before puberty, primary oocytes remain arrested in the prophase 1 by a specialized substance that is secreted by the follicular cells, which is called the oocyte maturation inhibitor. However, the number of oocyte during the childhood decreases, and at puberty only 40,000 oocytes or the 40,000 primordial follicles persist, and during each menstrual cycle 15 to 20 follicles begin to mature under the influence of the gonadotrophin, and only one follicle will mature. So these primary oocytes remain dormant until puberty, and at puberty these primary oocyte and the primordial follicle grow, and the surrounding follicular cells change from the flat to the cuboidal cells and proliferate to produce the stratified epithelium, as you can see here. And these stratified cuboidal epithelium are called the granulosa cells, and these granulosa cells and the oocytes secrete a layer of the glycoprotein on the surface of the oocyte, which is called the zona pellucida. This blue color material is zona pellucida. Numerous microvilli of the oocyte project into the zona pellucida for the nutrition. And multiplication of the follicular cells take place, and the small spaces, which are the fluid-filled spaces, appear between them. And these fluid-filled spaces fuse to form a space which is called the antrum. And this follicle is called the vesicular follicle or the antral follicle. Initially, the antrum is crescentic in shape. Follicular cells that form the outer layer are called the granulosa cells, and those that surround the primary follicle are called the cumulus ophorus. Changes take place in the stromal cells of the ovary, and the connective tissue is derived from the stroma of the ovary that organizes to form the theca folliculi, this green color material. The theca folliculi, and which splits into the theca interna, which is the inner vascular and the cellular layer, and the theca externa, which is the outer fibrous or the capsular layer. Then about 3 to 4 hours before ovulation, surge in the LH induces the pre-ovulatory growth phase, in which meiosis 1 is completed to produce the secondary oocyte and a first polar body. The cytoplasmic division is unequal, so that the secondary oocyte receive most of the cytoplasm and the first polar body receive little. And this first polar body lies in the pre-vitelline space, which is the space between the secondary oocyte and the zona pellucida. And this follicle containing the secondary oocyte and the first polar body is called the mature Graafian follicle, and its diameter is about 25 mm. Graafian follicle now enters into the second meiotic division, where it is arrested into the metaphase. Now at ovulation stage, the surge in the LS induces the mature Graafian follicle to reach the surface of the ovary and form a stigma, and the release of the mature secondary oocyte occurs into the fallopian tube, where it is surrounded by some of the cumulus ophorus cells, and the cells which are the granulosa cells and the theca cells which remain inside the ovary still are converted into the yellowish material, which is called the corpus luteum, that secretes the progesterone. and this secondary oocyte is haploid, but it's two and it has the double amount of the chromosome. Secondary oocyte will stay for 24 hours to 48 hours, and if not fertilized, it undergoes the apoptosis, and its organic material will be absorbed by the fallopian tube epithelium. After the ovulation of the secondary oocyte, if a sperm comes into contact and fertilizes this ovum, as the sperm fertilizes this secondary oocyte, it will immediately complete its second meiotic division and will produce the one more polar body, that is the second polar body. And the first polar body will also produce one more polar body, and these polar bodies will degenerate, and this secondary oocyte is now converted into the mature ovum, which has the haploid number of chromosomes and the haploid DNA, which is the 1n and 23 chromosomes. If the fertilization does not occur, this secondary oocyte will degenerate and it will undergo apoptosis, and its organic material will be absorbed by the fallopian tube epithelium. So this was all about the process of ovulation. Hope you have got a little idea from this video, and if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe this channel. Thank you so much.